delighted to have back in the studio with us today Doug Gould. He's the Executive Director of Foundations for Recovery, an excellent program, and they have an event coming up. But Doug, I'm just so impressed with what you guys do, and I like what you have here. Have you seen a miracle? Well, we're all miracles, but have you really seen one lately?
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going great at the foundation. We are excited. The local community is getting behind us even more and more, and we hold these events once a month called Shining the Light Dinners. And part of our events, we include a few testimonials of some of our clients who are going through our recovery program. And we have a little segment, part of the dinner called Have You Seen a Miracle? And so I brought a little sample in there. This is Nick. He's had 10 years of addiction in drugs and alcohol. He was held at knife point in a local hotel, and that was his bottom. He said, I had enough. Came through the doors of the foundation, and we worked with him personally with our recovery coaching, and now he's coming up on 9 months clean and sober.
Well, that's what the foundation is all about?
It is. It is. We have, right now we have about 12 recovery coaches, and we're not clinical, we're not medical. We like to describe ourselves as experientially qualified.
Well, you know, that's what God uses.
Absolutely. We take, you know, we're a firm believer that God never passes up on using a hurt in our life to help someone else. And that's what we do. We take people with a heart of passion to help those who've been battered, beaten, and bruised with addiction. We train them through the Connecticut Center of Addiction Recovery peer mentoring model, meaning we don't put them in a group with a bunch of other addicts and alcoholics. We get them right there one-on-one with a recovery coach, and we love on them. You know, we support them. We have them set goals and complete tasks and take them to meetings and work with their 12-step program. And we begin to love on them so they can start loving themselves again. We provide hope so they can see that there is a better tomorrow. And we have an incredible staff.
That's wonderful. This little line here I want to share with our viewers and listeners. Estimates reveal over 17,301 people in Jackson County abuse or are dependent on alcohol and illicit drugs and are in need of treatment. 17,000.
Isn't that something?
How much of that is silent? We just don't know.
And that's the thing we're finding out. The more and more the community realizes that there is a faith-based, Christ-centered recovery program in the Valley, the more our doors continue to stay open. We are in need of support financially, of course, and that's why we hold these dinners once a month. We have great businesses that are sponsoring us. Bumgarner Landscape, Belfour Restoration, R.A. Murphy Construction. I feel like a NASCAR driver, just kind of let you know, Bobbio's Pizza.
So you got them all down.
Oh yeah, Happy Camper RV, you know. But the more and more we put on these dinners, the more they see the testimonies and hear the testimonies, the support we're having. The 17,000, it's an amazing statistic. And when the viewers are watching this program, they say, well, how can my $25 a month reach 17,000? Well, look at it this way. You take one individual like a Nick, my $25 can help one individual. And that's what we do. And that's how we're supported, because we're not government funded. We strictly are funded by local communities, businesses, and churches and so forth. So,
well, let me encourage you to check it out. And if you know somebody that needs this kind of counseling, or maybe even yourself, maybe you've reached that point where Patrick Doyle so often says there are only two things that make you change: inspiration or desperation.
Absolutely.
So either God's really leading you to get cleaned up, or maybe you've reached the end of your rope and you're saying, all right, it's time.
Absolutely.
We'll give you a phone number here in just a moment. But also I want you to circle on your calendar next Thursday, March 21st. It's going to be at the 130 East Main Street there. And it is your, what do you call it, Share the Light?
It's called
Shining the Light.
Shining the Light Dinner. It's at Sunrise Cafe, right there, local, right down Main Street, Ed and Carol's place. Great people, wonderful food. It's been sponsored. Seats are limited because it's a nice little intimate setting. So if you feel like coming and supporting us, you know, call the foundation, 541-245-HOPE, or you can go online at lovefoundations.com.
All right, that's 254-HOPE, and that's also the number, that's 4673, by the way. That's also the number you can call if you've been struggling.
Absolutely.
So many people, it's that initial contact, it's that first contact. What can they expect?
A hug, just support. One of the things, a misconception that sometimes people have on faith-based recovery is that when a young person comes through the door, and when I say young person, we have a wide variety of ages. When you come Thursday night, you're going to hear a testimony of a mother of four, a grandmother who had 30-plus years of addiction to prescription drugs. Wow. You're going to hear the testimonies of a Nick who's in his mid-20s. You're going to hear a testimony of a gentleman in his mid-30s. So this is a widespread thing. And there's no respecter of persons in reference to drugs and alcohol. But when that client comes through the door, we just don't pray over him and read the scripture. We have the tools and the necessary training to support their pathway to recovery. There's no browbeating. There's no humiliation. There is understanding, because that person behind that desk has been there. And that's why we call ourselves experientially trained, qualified.
And I like the word coach.
Yeah, recovery coach, absolutely.
So you're just walking with them.
Absolutely.
And every length of recovery is different, I would assume.
It is, and sometimes you have the relapse. And one of the things that we do at the foundation is we feel that the young people are not a statistic. They're alive, they're a soul. And so once a week, we make a call to those who we haven't seen in a while, because the embarrassment of a relapse sometimes will keep them coming back through the doors. And there's no shame. We've all relapsed in recovery. And it's someone putting their arm around that individual and saying, you know what, it's okay, let's start again. Let's get to meetings.
Doug, how many of the folks do you minister to literally are at the end of the road, or they think, I'll give this a try? They're still, you keep track of that? We do.
It's just one of the things that we've noticed is that in the one-on-one recovery coaching aspect, our percentage, and the numbers are kind of hard to determine, but right now we're around 56% of success rate in sobriety, which it doesn't sound like a great number, but in all reality, the secular world of sobriety is maybe 5 to 8%. So we're 9 times over that average.
Wow.
But one of the things that we've noticed is that the revolving door aspect, Perry, of the young people that just keep going to a court-ordered program or something of that nature, and there's no connection, there's no understanding of a relationship being built. And I had one individual that came in and basically said, this was my last hope. And now this person's going on 14 months clean and sober. He came in with the attitude, he sat behind the desk, Perry, he said this, don't tell me about God, I'm here because my PO wants me to be at a program.
Whoa.
And I said, that's okay. Now, we don't kick them out the door because they don't have the same belief that I do.
Right.
They're there because they need support in their pathway to recovery. Within 9 months, his view on God changed, and he came in, he says, I think I believe in God now. And within that time, in 1 year time, I was able to pray with him, talk to him about the Lord, and it was amazing. And now he's going on 14 months recovery, and it's just that's the stuff we see every day through the door.
Wow, wow. How difficult is it for somebody to make that first step?
The first step's the hardest. If you can admit that my life is unmanageable, step one, I'm out of control, and just come through the door and say, I need help. One of the things that we've noticed is there's shame and embarrassment. The idea of, well, if that person really wanted to stop, they could. We've all gone through some type of trauma in our life, and Patrick Doyle probably has talked about crisis counseling in his group. But the trauma and the pain that the person has gone through, if you have someone that understands that, it seems to help. But the fear of getting right through the door, of being shamed, that's where we try to eliminate. There's no shame to come through the door and say, I need help.
Well, what I'm hearing you also say is I think some people are afraid they may immediately be put into a group setting. And you erase that.
We erase that.
It's very one-on-one.
Confidential.
Confidential. Yeah.
Private.
Well, let me encourage you, check it out, and you can call Doug and his organization, Foundations for Recovery, and that's 245-HOPE, H-O-P-E, or 4673. But let me encourage you also to get out and support them. They got a great event coming up. It is limited, next Thursday, March 21st. and it's called Shining the Light Dinner. And you're saying the seats are a little limited, so they ought to give you a call and get online. Huh?
And if they can't get to this event, we have once a month at the same place. So check us out online. And yeah.
What's your website? Oh, there it is. Lovefoundations.com.
Absolutely.
Well, I just think the whole thing is just terrific, and I can't tell you what the calls we get here.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
sure.
It's kind of like we get the initial call, we try to feed them out, but I also know that most people won't show up at your door until they're really,
mm-hmm.
you know,
Absolutely.
they've reached a point where they just, this is it, I got to do something.
Well, I did it with my life. You know, I got to a point where I said, you know what? And what was so funny is I would go to Celebrate Recovery meetings, Perry.
Yeah.
And I would tell my family I went to a meeting, but I never got out of the car. I would just circle around the parking lot.
Wow.
But it was that first step going through the door, because I thought I was being embarrassed. There's nothing but hugs and comfort and support.
Well, you're another living example of something I've said over and over and over for 30 some odd years. Whatever God saves you from brings you through. He turns around and makes you a minister too.
That's right.
So Doug,
Amen.
I love your spirit, love what you do. Get out and support them. Give them a call, 245-HOPE, or go online, lovefoundations.com. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Perry.